for the very creative examples of selection in human populations. But this next section is about maintaining diversity, that biodiversity in your population. So genetic variability is very important. It's in fact that second step of natural selection. First you overpopulate. Within that there's a lot of variation. And populations that have limited variation may not be able to adapt to new conditions. And that diversity is the very source of our choices, right? I mean, without diversity, we have no choice. And so the maintenance of variability is advantageous to a population because without it, you have no choice. And if you think about history, I'll even draw on history here a little bit. Think about that very evil man, Hitler, right? He wanted no variety. In fact, he would have been detrimental for a number of reasons to the human race. Imagine just one option to choose from. We would have been super undiverse. That's not a biological term, but I'm using it. Okay? So just imagine how undiverse we would have been after his accomplishment if he'd actually succeeded in that. So he would have been very harmful to the human race. Now, only exposed alleles are subject to natural selection. It makes me think of a group that's out right now, like that ISIS group. They want only their own kind. Okay? We need to not have those types of people running anything because taking away diversity hurts us. Look at America. There's a reason we're so awesome. It's because we're so diverse. Look at all these choices we have to choose from. Okay? Everybody comes here from all over the place, and then we get to choose what we want. It's fun, right? It's evolution in action. So only exposed alleles are subject to natural selection. That means this. I have a blue-eyed trait. When my wife looked at me and picked me out, she didn't say, I like his blue eyes, did she? No, but she got them anyway because they're there. Okay? They showed up in our daughters. So sometimes you aren't picking a trait. Sometimes the trait just comes with the what your, what the package is, Sometimes you get more than you bargain for. Okay? I don't know where you guys went with that. It wasn't that funny. I got a mother-in-law joke in my head, but I'm not going to tell it. I'm teasing. So natural selection causes imperfect adaptations, and it depends on evolutionary history, where you've been. What is your evolutionary past as an organism, as a population? Where did my blue eyes come from? I can tell you they came from Norwegian. Okay? Norway. Well, I just said Norwegian. I just named the country of Norway Norwegian. My great-grandma was 100% Norwegian. I am positive that's where my blue-eye gene came from. I'm calling it that from now on, Norwegian. Yes, I am. Yeah, that's okay. I haven't said anything bad, have I? So imperfections are common because of necessary compromises. Sometimes we say, oh, my wife was probably like, oh, I like his hair, but he's got like brown eyes. I don't know about that. And she's like, well, I like the hair. And, that's obviously not what happened. She liked my eyes. I don't know that, but I'm guessing. Okay? But we compromise as a species. Think about the sloth, right? The compromises that must have been made in that population. Like, he's really slow, but he grows a mean community on his back, right? So the environment plays a role in maintaining diversity. Disruptive selection due to environmental differences promotes polymorphism in a population. Remember, those polymorphisms are those differences. If you remember from biology talking about those. And if a population occupies a very wide range, it may have several subpopulations designated as subspecies. We have subspecies as humans. We call them races. If you were a dog, you would have subspecies of dogs. You've got Chihuahuas, you've got Great Danes, you've got Burmese Mountain Dogs, you've got Labradors. Those are all just subspecies of one single species, like races of dogs. So the environment includes selecting agents that help maintain diversity. So our environment says, okay, this environment is suited for that little tiny dog, kind of like the city, right? And then if you got a lot of open spaces, you've got room for bigger dogs. Like me, I got this giant Burmese Mountain Dog that they tell me is going to get 180 pounds, and it scares me because he keeps growing. I don't think I quite realized what 180 pounds was It's like me and a dog. When I bought the dogs, oh yeah, no big deal. They go, you know he's gonna get big. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I like big dogs. I don't know if I like them that big. It's a big dog. He's bigger than my lab already. He's like what, 4 or 5 months old? So looking at biodiversity, we can look at this in just snake populations. This is one illustrative example from your text. You have various types of snakes. Although probably had a very common ancestor, we have different varieties all over the United States alone. Okay? That is an example of the varieties we can choose from. Some snakes can actually interbreed. You ever see those exotic pet shops? And then they've got all these different varieties of snakes in there. And they can actually breed those snakes to get different varieties. Same things with frogs. And now we've been talking an awful lot about recessive alleles, dominant alleles, and Hardy-Weinberg. So heterozygotes shelter recessive alleles from selection. I'm a heterozygote for brown eyes. I know that. Okay? That means I have the hybrid dominant recessive deal going on there. So heterozygotes allow even lethal alleles to remain in the population at low frequencies virtually forever. What does that mean? It means that even if brown eyes are dominant, you're never going to get rid of blue eyes because of people like me. When you have heterozygosity, you mask it, and so the environment cannot touch it. That means the environment cannot choose it. If an allele is not expressed, that protein is not being made, and the environment is not able to act on it with natural selection. There is a disease called cystic fibrosis. It is a recessive disease. You die usually before the age of 25 or 30 with this disease. Does it sound like you're going to be reproducing? No. Can you carry it and not have the disease? Yes. Will the disease ever go away? No. Unless everybody gets tested and the people with that recessive disorder never reproduce. I don't want to live in that world, but I'm just saying that's the only way you would ever get rid of it. Okay. So sometimes recessive alleles confer an advantage to heterozygotes. Looking at sickle cell anemia, that allele is detrimental in homozygote individuals. We talked about that in your POGL. Sickle cell anemia, just so you know, give you a little idea of what it is. This is a red blood cell. Red blood cells have kind of a flattened area in the middle which likes to carry a very special molecule called oxygen on a hemoglobin molecule. This is the shape of a sickle cell red blood cell. Does that, in the form of a sickle, does it look like that's going to be carrying oxygen very well? Now or later? Okay, as soon as I'm done with this, I'll send him down. Okay. So if I have a sickle cell red blood cell shape and it's not able to carry oxygen, I'm what's said to be anemic. Okay? And if I'm homozygous for this trait, I usually die. Okay? But if I'm heterozygous, I won't express it, but I will carry it. All right? So it'll never go away. The other thing that's kind of cool about sickle cell anemia is if you're heterozygous for it, like this, you're also immune to malaria. That's another reason it's prolific in an African American population. So this is a disease that predominantly affects African Americans due to the fact of the large amounts of malaria in Africa. Okay? Because if you had this, not only did you not have sickle cell anemia, but you had an advantage. So it makes this disease even more predominant in that population of people. Okay? Kind of a fun illustrative example. So heterozygotes are more likely to survive malaria, and the sickle cell allele occurs at a higher frequency in malaria-prone areas. Go figure, right? What? I heard Ebola. What happened? I had a bowl of cereal this morning. That's a lie. I had eggs. I just saw a joke and took the opportunity. So the heterozygote advantage. It assists in the maintenance of genetic and therefore phenotypic variations in future generations. So what if Brown took over and then Brown was dominant and then Brown was there all the time? Would you ever have variety? No. The fact that I'm able to carry a blue-eyed trait is awesome. That means I can mix it up. We can mix the gene pool up later, right? Now think about this happening in 30,000 different genes in your body. That lends to our biodiversity. Now in sickle cell disease, heterozygote individuals don't die from sickle cell disease, and they don't die from malaria. So that's another way that it can help us in that case alone. Not only can it be masked and provide that variety for later, sometimes it helps us. Literally a hybrid, right? So this is the sickle cell population in Africa, and I left this one here just to talk about it. These are the malaria-prone regions. This is where you see a lot of sickle cell anemia, and this is where you have an overlap of both. And in this area here is where you see that evidence of those heterozygous individuals surviving over the homozygous dominant others. And of course, if you're homozygous recessive, you really got a bad deal. Okay? You're anemic. Okay. And in a country where you're starving to death, that's a very bad thing, right? Okay. All right. So we're done with notes.